Late Night with the Devil has been quite the talk of the internet since it hit theaters, and it is now available for streaming on Shudder, so let's talk about it. Hey there, creepy peeps. I'm going to preface this with a spoiler warning. A lot of you have been asking me for a video on this, so I feel like probably the majority of people watching this have seen the movie already, so there will be some spoilers ahead. Now that I've kind of like written down my thoughts, it's not super spoilery, I can say that, but just be wary. All right, so Late Night with the Devil follows a late night television show in 1977 that goes horribly wrong during a special Halloween episode when a possessed girl is featured as a guest. The movie met controversy online due to its use of AI images in some of the graphics in the movie. And I will weigh in on it, but it kind of ties in with some of my thoughts on the movie overall, so it'll come a little bit later in the video. So the movie is ultimately about the host of the show, Jack Delroy, and his obsession with success. It's established in the movie, very well established, that his show Night Owls, it is consistently behind Johnny Carson in the ratings. And this Halloween episode that we see in the movie is what Jack hopes is his ticket to beating Carson in the ratings ultimately. I thought it was a simple enough motive for how fast-paced the movie is. And it's meant to be because it's taking place over the course of an episode of late night television, like in real time, more or less. Usually late night shows are about an hour long. So the movie kind of has a rushed feeling, but it seems like it's meant to be that way. So you don't really have time to get to know any of the characters except for Jack. But the pacing works to show how quickly things get out of control on the show. And Jack isn't necessarily a lovable character to follow, but I liked that about him. Like, we're never really sure if we're supposed to be rooting for him or not. Like, we see him manipulating his own life for ratings on his show. So how can we be sure that anything he does is genuine? And I love a messy character like that. Now, this is supposed to be set in the late 70s, and this is where the film lost me. Everything felt way too clean and polished to look genuine. The set design and costumes were fine, but there's just something about modern films trying to achieve genuine nostalgic vibes that doesn't really work, and I really think it's just because technology is too good now compared to back then. I also feel like the found footage aspect didn't work completely either. And it's mostly during the commercial break portions of the film. At that moment, we're told we're meant to be seeing like behind the scenes footage, but everything in these moments is framed too perfectly to seem genuine. And I know portable cameras were a thing back then, but it seems odd to have multiple camera angles on a late night show's host during the breaks in the show while he's backstage. I almost would have preferred to see like just throw in like a fake commercial or two and then cut back to the program like live as things get weirder and weirder, as if we were really the audience watching at home. And that brings me to the use of AI generated images. So there were 3 cutaway images that are kind of meant to be like, you know, we'll be right back kind of cutaway images. This was the main one that people were pointing out, and these images were partially AI generated. And while I appreciate the cast and the crew's candor regarding these images, like nobody denied that they used AI, they very obviously looked computer generated, and they do absolutely nothing to sell the fact that this movie is supposed to be set in 1977. Honestly, it was like those images were the most jarring points in the movie. It was kind of like slapping me in the face like, yeah, this was made in the last year. And the crew in interviews did mention that this movie was completed before the writer strike of last summer, of which the use of AI was a huge point of contention. And even the movie star David Dastmalchian said, "I completely stand by this movie as a thoroughly original piece of work. So many man hours went into this incredible artistic craftsmanship of building this set, building this world. It's a good conversation to have though." And I feel like that's a nice sentiment, but I just felt as a viewer that those AI images that looked so obviously made on a computer do more to take away from the craftsmanship of seen in other parts of the film, like in the set and in the costume design. And really the thing that rubs me the wrong way about the whole situation is multiple interviews that I had seen where cast and crew mention how they regret that the conversation around the movie now is all about the AI generated images and not so much about the movie as a whole. But I'm happy it is. If nothing else, maybe at least one or two other film productions will be able to look at the backlash that this movie had and say, hey, maybe let's not use AI like we were planning to. The only other standout thing to me about this movie were the practical effects. There were some really gnarly gore moments that I enjoyed. And even towards the end of the film, there were some CG effects used, particularly on Lily, like her head splits open and then there's like these light beams coming out, or like electrical beams coming out and killing people. That part was like really cool and inspired. And I have to say, even though that was obviously CG effects, even those effects looked more vintage than the AI images. Overall, I felt the movie was just okay. Even if you take away the AI images completely, like if you showed it to me without those, I feel like the movie still failed to sell its own premise to me. I did not believe that this was set in the 70s. There were some cool moments peppered in there, but to me it wasn't enough to save the movie. I cannot wait to hear you guys weigh in the comments. Like I said, you guys have been asking me for a review on this, so I assume some of you have some strong opinions. Share them, please. If you're looking for more reviews of new horror movies that have come out this year, you can check out my recent review of Abigail. And I will see you later this week with another new movie review. Until then, stay strange. Bye.